All right, good morning. So 2 years, 2+ years, 2 years and a few months, third budget passed this past week, third unanimous budget with a focus on public safety. That's why we're all here. We all work together for the same cause, and we're like-minded into the approach, frankly, of how we keep our city safe. This budget added 100 new police officers. You'll recall that 147 were cut prior to me taking office, prior to the sheriff being there, and I committed in collaboration with the sheriff to restore those cuts. This gets us to over 147. I think, well, I know what's important to note about this is, based on my discussions with Mike leading up to this, JSO they were at dangerously low levels when we got into office, and we are now back. We will be back as these folks are trained and get back on the ground.
So there's no shortage of swift water rescue trucks that you've seen, the different equipment that's out there. This budget continues that. You know, the mayor mentioned we got 2 new fire stations, one at Bay Meadows and 9A and one at Old Middleburg and Collins. Both areas of town, but y'all know call volumes are just through the roof. If you're out in that area of town center, you know that part of the city, and certainly Argyle Forest and places like that. There's additional engines, additional rescues as far as new equipment. There's a long list, just like the sheriff. Our fleet in the past had really gotten quite old and antiquated and having trouble getting parts. And the mayor continues to invest in our fleet. We see that with the fire trucks around town. We see it because we're not breaking down, so it really has an effect as it relates to that.
This is based on real people's needs and real experiences. I've always encouraged those of us that put forth budgets to make sure we understand what people need. Examples, we talk about the fire equipment. The first I heard of fire equipment needs was long before I was in office. I sat in a Rotary meeting and they had a fireman that spoke for the day, and he talked about the equipment that had been neglected. I saw firsthand the stuff the sheriff shared with me with individual police officers. We talk about children's programs, spending time with children and parents, understanding what those children need. Septic tanks, which we've addressed in previous budgets. That's spending time in neighborhoods, people talking to us about neighborhoods that were left behind. These budgets are based on real experiences that we've had on real people's needs. And that's why I believe they've been unanimous, and that's how we're going to continue to do it.
So our budget, as you know, is funded through the state. This appropriation is for the development of the Crime Gun Intelligence Center, which will be housed in the state attorney's office. So our money comes from the state of Florida. Our budget comes from the state of Florida.
Okay.
But I mean, in terms of being smarter in how we address crime, the use of civil citation allows both the sheriff's office and then the state attorney's office to redeploy resources in a more strategic way. And I think that's a common theme among everything that the city is trying to do, the sheriff's office is trying to do, certainly that we're trying to do, is make sure that we're using our resources in the smartest and most efficient way we can. So that the purpose, the concept of the Crime Gun Intelligence Center is to allow us to target and strategize on that small amount of people who are creating the most amount of violence.
And I think he's right, not only the perception, but the reality of people being safer. I mean, this more police officers on the street will make a neighborhood safer. There's no doubt about that. Now, they have to be deployed the right way. They've got to be doing the right things. They've got to be held accountable. All those things are true. But in terms of numbers, which we were severely lacking, that will help, and it absolutely is going to help.